Hi everybody, this is P-Rat. Thank you for joining me for Summer Art Love. During the summer I tend to watch a lot of sci-fi, so I'm doing an Alien ATC. I'm using Dina Wakley paints. I like them because they're pretty matte and they're not opaque. They're translucent, so I'm working on a text page and some of that paint's going to show through. Now, instead of watching me smear paint, I fast forwarded. This is actually a different page that I did. I did several pages at one time, and now I'm just using an ATC kind of viewfinder to figure out exactly where I want my alien to go. And I hope you can't really tell what book that's from, maybe not. Whenever I am doing some work, I try as much as possible to pre-draw my figure. So what you see is that I've pre-drawn it and then I'm putting it on tracing paper. I'm doing this because then I can transfer my image directly to whatever I'm working on, and it's less stress and wear and tear on whatever substrate. I have a tendency to overwork paper easily, so this lets me go ahead and get the image I want on whatever substrate I want to use, in this case plain old book paper, and I don't have to worry about overworking the paper so hard. So here I'm just transferring it over, and you can tell I like this method. There's same sheet of tracing paper. I've got another little head that I did at some point. Now for my alien, I really wanted her to have kind of a, I'm not sure if it was a sad, happy, tired, not sad, not happy, I'm sorry, but a sad, tired, sort of really grumpy expression. So I'm darkening my lines, and in a minute I'm going to come in and touch up the area with gray gesso. She is an alien, and it is a she has no hair, but she's an alien. So I'm filling her face in with gray gesso, and I lost a little bit of footage. Please bear with me. This is really my first time video editing, and I managed to actually not record some stuff, and I managed to delete some stuff. But after I got her face completely gessoed, I did go ahead and cover the ATC with gel medium, and that's because I'm going to be using Faber-Castell Indian ink brush pens, and I used the big pens and the little pens on her in order to get the shading done. So I needed a non-porous surface. Before I did the gel medium though, I went ahead and outlined, and you're going to see me switching around from different markers simply because I used different line widths at different places. And there you see me trying to give her in her mouth that kind of disgruntled, grumpy alien look. And yep, yet another different pen. And I didn't like that line, so I come back in with some gesso and soften up that line. I think that's one of the things that's kind of cool when you're working with acrylics, is that something doesn't quite work out the way you want it, you go back in and you smooth it out. And you'll see later I ended up adjusting that neck as well. But that heavy black line at the bottom was really bothering me. So right here I'm going to touch it up and sort of get rid of it. When I do something like this, particularly on my ATCs, I tend to end up lining them twice. I do it once, as I've done here, to see what everything looks like and to fill it in and to know exactly what my spaces are. But at the very end, I will go over all my lines again and do just a final touch-up to give it a crisp, clean look. And at this point, I couldn't decide if I wanted her lips to be the same color as the background. I left her eyes that way. Or I should say what would be the whites of the eyes. I let the background show through, and I hadn't decided if I wanted the lips to be gray or if I wanted them to be the background color as well. But I finally decided to go with gray, and a little bit later on you'll see me touching up and filling in the lips as well. On this ATC, everything was kind of smudgy. I used my fingers a lot. So here you see me going in with the gesso over her lips. And there I go, corrections with my fingers again. She really was a fun girl to do. I had done another ATC with the alien, and they turn out slightly different every time. Even though I'm working from the same master sketch, the original one, every time I reuse a sketch, okay, now this is where I lost the footage, and I have gone over her with gel medium, and you'll notice her neck is now a little bit wider at the top. These Pitt big brush pens have India ink in them, which is awesome because you can smudge them while they're still wet, but once they dry, they are permanent. So I just keep going in with layers and layers, trying to get the look that I'm after. And I'm using all kinds of grays, and I'm using the big brush pens, and I'm using the little ones. And I'm sorry you get to see my very fuzzy hair in in some of these clips. I try to keep my head out of the way, but I wasn't always successful with it. But I wanted subtle shading. I didn't want lines really, and I wanted my alien again to look kind of tired and look, you know, just really had it with whatever she's going through. So I'm trying to give her bags underneath her eyes, and I'm doing it through layers. So there I go with the little pen to get into a little bit more detail. There's some expression around the already kind of grumpyish mouth. And if you hear any beating or banging in the background, my husband and my daughter are doing leather work, so I think they're making a wallet. Just more shading through layers. The Pitt brush pens really help you build up those layers, let it dry, and then go in with more. And I just keep fiddling until I get her looking kind of the way I want to. She's splotchy, and I could have smoothed that out a little bit, but I didn't want to. I liked the fact that she came out just a little bit splotchy. She is an alien. She's not meant to be some pretty little girl. A little darker there. The colors that I was using were in the cool tones, the cool grays. Did not want to indicate any kind of warmth or anything, and I think it goes better. The cool tones go well with the green and the blue. I've used Dana Wakley's paints for backgrounds several times, and this is just a technique I really love. I keep several pages painted up ahead of time. I'm going in with magenta now. She needed just a little bit of color and just a different color to kind of make her pop and to add that extra shaded dimension. And shortly, when it skips over, you will notice that, again, I lost some footage, but I went around the outside of her head with a purple color, and that was to help her pop out from the background. But I did lose that, but it suddenly shows up that it's been done. And I think I used purple for that. And more magenta again in her face, using the smaller Pitt brush to get that finer detail. I wanted that ear dark, but not quite that dark, so I used my finger again just to lift off some of that paint. should say some of that ink. Now see, suddenly she's outlined in the back, and she has blue eyes. I used blue Wink of Stella on her eyes, which is why they look so splotchy there. And for the mouth, I used clear Wink of Stella on the bottom lip and left the top lip just gray. Here I'm going over my lines again to clean them up and crisp them up. And I'm about done fiddling with her. I had initially really wanted her to have silver eyes, but that wasn't working for me, so I did put in the blue, nice blue sparkly eyes, and the sparkle on her lower lip is just awesome. I'm trimming so that it fits, and I glue it down with decoupage. ATCs should be on a firm background or backboard of some type, so I go ahead and decoupage it down, so to speak, or glue it down really well, and then I use a brayer to make sure that I get a really good contact, and then I go back and trim everything up again. And there I am trimming. I never can get them on quite right, and she really stuck down to that piece of paper. Now I'm going to discover that I want a border, and I realized that my hands were shaking, so I really had a hard time getting the border in there, and I end up going over the border several times in order to get it like an even thickness, width all over. I've had vertigo for about 2 weeks now, which is getting pretty old, and I'm a little bit shaky from it. So, but you see, the more border I did, the thicker it was. Just totally missed here. That was a very thick border, so I had to go back and thicken everything up. But other than that, there she is. She's my alien ATC. She's my grumpy girl. And with those sparkly eyes and sparkly lip, she's awesome. Thank you so much for being with me today. And that's it.